Welcome to the Modern JavaScript 2020 course, Part 3. In this section we're going to be covering JavaScript variables and operators. Please subscribe to Bain's Infotech channel and to see more content from ourselves. Okay, here we are. In this course we're going to cover JavaScript variables and operators, case-sensitive JavaScript names, variable names, and arithmetic operations, and arithmetic operators, and assignment operators, string concatenation, Boolean operators, section 7 logical operators, and section 8 ternary operators. Your course instructor is Sam. He's an IT expert with 20 years experience. Please subscribe to our channel to see more educational content. Okay, in this course we're going to cover case-sensitive variable names. This refers to variables. When you create a new variable, you have to give it a name, and the name has to follow certain naming conventions to be recognized by the JavaScript engine as a valid name. Arithmetic operations. This refers to doing arithmetic with variables such as add and minus and multiply. Arithmetic operators. This refers to the plus, minus, times and divide, etc. operators. Assignment operators are where you can assign a value to a variable. String concatenation variables are where you join two strings together. Boolean operators are where you have a condition like 3 is less than 5. It's using less than sign, and the result of that is a Boolean result. The result is always either true or false. So we're doing assignment operators, string concatenation, Boolean operators, and we'll be doing logical operators. Logical operators refer to doing and, or not operations, where you say this condition and this condition. So you say number must be less than 3 and x must be less than 5. So you're combining Boolean expressions to make an overall Boolean result. Ternary operators are an operator that requires 3 parameters. For example, an if then else statement. You say if 3 is less than 5, then do this, print x, else otherwise print y. So you have 3 conditions. Okay, section 1, case-sensitive variables. JavaScript variables and features. Case-sensitive variables. A variable is a container for some data value used by the JavaScript language. So if you wanted to store somebody's name, age and telephone number, you'd have a variable called name equals Fred, age equals 25, and telephone number equals number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. JavaScript variables names are case sensitive, so that means that a variable named with lowercase pop-up is different to a variable named with a capital P and lowercase pop-up, OP. So you have to be careful when you define a variable and you use the variable later on. If you defining a variable but then you use it later on and you use it with, forget the case and use it with a different case spelling, then you will find that you actually created a new variable which is different to your original variable. Variable names must start with a letter, underscore or dollar character. That's part of the JavaScript rules. After the first character in the variable, the following characters may be letters, numbers, $, or underscores. JavaScript keywords cannot be used as variable names, such as JavaScript keywords of words that are built into the JavaScript language, such as print, alert, function. So these words, obviously, the JavaScript engine recognizes as meaning something special in the language, and if you use them as a variable, then the JavaScript language will be confused, will not understand what you're doing. So keywords of the JavaScript language have to follow the JavaScript language syntax rules, and so cannot be used as variables. Once created, the variable can be used to store different values or data types at different times. For example, you might create a variable called x, and you might say that's equal to 3, which is a number, so that would be fine. And then later on, if you decide how you want to put somebody's a name or a string in the variable and use it to store, for example, the string Fred, you can say x equals Fred in quotation marks, and that will change the variable from storing a number to storing a string. And this is allowed in JavaScript. Some languages are will not allow changing the variable type in a string, but JavaScript is quite flexible in this regard. To create a variable, we use the var keyword, which tells JavaScript that this is a variable. It's short for variable. So we say var user1, and that would create a variable called user1, and we could put whatever value we wanted into that variable and use it later on. To create a variable and assign it a value, at the same time, we use var, which is variable user1 equals the value, quotation marks, Fred. And so the value of user1 would be equal to Fred. If you assign a variable a value, there is no error if you assign a value to a variable not declared yet with a var. So user2 equals Susan, the variable is automatically declared anyway. So this will create a new variable called user2, and give it the name Susan, string called Susan. Okay, we're looking at some code here, and as we can see, got a simple HTML document with some JavaScript, and then on the right hand side this is our code, and on the right hand side we've got the output of this command, of this code, the browser output. So if we look in the JavaScript, here we've got the JavaScript element, opening element. It says text is Java, type is Java. It says this is the script element, the type is text, JavaScript, so whatever's contained between the two script tags, opening and closing, will be a JavaScript code. So first of all we declare variable user1. We assign variable user1 the value of string of Fred. We say document write user1, so we say write out user1 value to the browser. And then we say document write HR, which is HTML for horizontal rule, so that just draws a straight line on the browser. And then we assign user1 a different value, you can call it James. And then we say document write, which is write out to the browser. Write out to the browser the value of user1, which now will be James. And then we say document write HR, which is a horizontal rule in HTML, and that will be written out to the browser, and that will draw a line. And lastly, we've got a piece of HTML which says this is a simple variable declaration, and we give it a color of red. That's the writing. Okay, so looking on the on the right hand side, we have our output on the browser output, and as mentioned here, we're writing the one user1, and we're doing document write, which is writing Fred to the browser output, and we can see Fred here. We write a horizontal rule, which is the line here, and then we write change the value of user1 to James, and we write it out to the browser, so we have James written to the browser. Then we have another horizontal row, which is this one, and then we write out in red a paragraph of text saying simple variable declaration, which is this HTML. This is the red paragraph text. Okay, notes. When we declare a variable, user1, we assign it the value Fred, and we print it to the HTML page in the browser, print a horizontal row, and we assign the value James to user1, and then we print to the HTML page, and then we print a horizontal row. Then we print a HTML paragraph containing text, simple variable declaration, like so. Okay, so that's that. So let's have a look at this in the code itself. So we're using Sublime Text 3 for our code editing, and we're using Google Chrome as our browser here. So this is our code window, so let's change this and put our code down, and we save it. And on the right hand side we refresh the window and we get the same result as mentioned before. So we have our script statements, then we have our HTML output as before. Okay, so that's the same. Okay, well, let's move on to the next page. This is the beginning of section 2, which covers arithmetic operations. Okay, arithmetic operations. JavaScript arithmetic is simple and done as normal arithmetic, which means that if you do 3 plus 2, then you get 5, and 3 times 2 is 6, and so arithmetic is done as in normal everyday life. So example here, we've got script tag, and then we say let variable x equal 5, let variable y equal x plus 3, and we say write out variable x equals 5, which is this bit here. That's just the text. String output. Then we write a horizontal row, which is our line here, and then we write variable x equals plus 3, so we run x plus 3, which is variable y equals x plus 3, so that's a different statement. Then we have another horizontal row here, and what we do is we write out the value of x there to the output for the moment x is equal to 5 as per here, as we defined it here. X is equal to 5, so what we get is we get 5 output to the browser. And if then we do document write y, so we do a horizontal row for formatting, so we've got a full straight line there, and then we write out the document y to the screen, browser output, and we've got which y is equal to x plus 3, and x is 5, so 5 plus 3 will give us 8, and that's what we have here. We have 8 as the output, and then in the last bit, we write some HTML paragraph with a line and colour it red, and this is what we get here, a red line, piece of text. Okay, let's have a look at the browser. Let's have a look at the code view of that. So we're going to copy this section of code into our code editor, which is Sublime, which is here. So we get rid of that, we code it, and we have a look in the browser, and then we have refresh this page, and this is what we had earlier. We've got x equals 5, y equals x plus 3, the value of x is 5, and the value of y is 8. Right. So we can have a quick look at console. So if we do Control-Shift-I, then we bring out a console window. And we can just expand this window out a little bit. So this is our HTML output. And we want to go on the console view. So on this side we can do Control-U to see the source code, and that brings out source code that is running in the tab here. So this is the output, and this is the input source code. We go into console, and we can examine the values of the JavaScript variable, so we can say x, and we do x return, and this says x is equal to 5. And if we do y now, and say y is the value of y, so y is equal to 8, so we have the value of x is equal to 5 and y is the value 8. You can also do use console log command and try that and do x. It does the same thing, it prints out the value of x to the console. We can print out the value of y and prints the value of y to the console. The undefined is referring to the value, the return value of this command, which is not defined because it's not returning any commands, any return value. Also here we can do simple calculations. In JavaScript we can say 2 plus 3 equals 5, x plus 10 equals 15. So we can use the variables that we used before and do operations on them. So we do y plus 5 is equal to 13, x to the power of 2 equals 25, y to the power of 2, 3 equals 512. So we can examine variables and set values. We can also set the value of variables here. So we can do x equals 25, and we say x plus 5 is now equal to 30. You can just say y is equal to 35, y becomes 35, y plus x gives us 60, and so on. So there's lots of calculations and manipulation of variables that we can do here. If you close the web developer console, and we go back to our browser output, and we go back to the beginning. Okay, going back to our HTML and our course window. So here we have arithmetic operations that we've just covered. Okay, next section is arithmetic operators. So here we can do, in the variables we can use plus, arithmetic operators. JavaScript can be embedded inline into an HTML document using script tags. And also utilize basic arithmetic operators. Okay, so JavaScript can be embedded using script tags, and we can utilize basic arithmetic operators. So, for example, we've got plus sign, where we can say use add. Y equals x plus 3. We can use multiply, star to multiply. So we say multiply y equals x times s, if s were a variable. Or say we give it a value of 5. Minus sign. So we can subtract. We can say y equals x minus 3. And divide. So we can do division, y equals x divided by 3. Increment, we can increment the value of a variable by using plus plus. Increment means to add 1 to the variable. You can also decrement, so subtract 1. We can subtract 1, decrement using minus minus to subtract 1 from the variable. Modulo division is dividing something by a value and getting the remainder. So modulo divide x equals 5 divided by 2 would give you 1. So 2 goes into 5 twice, and then the remainder it gives you the remainder of the division. Okay, moving on to the next page. So here we've got a section of code here where we're doing different arithmetic operations. So we've got setting x to 5 equal to 5 here, and declaring a variable x equals 5. And then what we do is we say y equals x plus 3, and then we say y equals x times 3, and then we say y is equal to x minus 3, and we say y is equal to x divided by 3, y is x plus plus, so increment the value of x minus minus, decrement the value of x, and y modulo divide by 3. So we could copy that and put it into our code window. So we go here and we go paste in our new code, save it, go into our browser window, refresh, and as you can see, this is what we have on the output. So we declare a variable 5, we print out the variable x equals 5, which is here. So here we say y is equal to x times 3, and we print it out. Document print y, or document write line y, and we've got y is equal to x plus 3, and the value of y is 8. So 5 plus 3 gives you 8. Here we're doing, next section we're doing y equals x minus 3, and we're printing the value of y. Okay, this next block of code here that we have here, what we're doing is we're saying y is going to be x times 3, and then we say here y equals x times 3 in the code, and then we say document write the value of y, print out the value of y, and that's what we've got here. So in our browser window we've got printed out y equals x times 3, and then we've got the value of y, which is 15. Okay, so moving on to the next one. Next one we're doing is minus. Okay, looking at the next section here, we're doing y equals x minus 3, and what we say is y equals x minus 3, and we print out the value of y to the screen. And if we look in our window, output window here, we've got y equals x minus 3, and the value of y is equal to 2. So that's 5 minus 3 equals 2. Moving on to the next piece of code. In this piece of code we've got y equals x divided by 3. So we say in the code, we say y is x divided by 3, and we print out the value of y. And looking at our browser window on the right hand side, we've got y equals x divided by 3, and print out the value of y, which is 1.6, recurring. So, okay, moving on to the next section, we've got x plus plus, the value of incrementing x, and we do x plus plus, and then we print out the value of x. And so doing x plus plus, x's value, the value of x is at the moment is equal to 5. So doing plus plus will increase the value by 1, so x will equal to 6 at that point. Moving on to the next section of code, we've got looking at the next block of code. So we've got x minus minus, so that means decrement x, which means subtract 1 from the value of x. And we've got printed out here to the screen. And if we go down in our browser window, we've got x minus minus, and the value of x previously was 6. So if we do x minus minus, which means subtract 1 from it, we get x is equal to value of 5. So, okay, looking at our code window, moving on to the next block of code, we have y is equal to x modulo divided by 3, and print out the value of y here. So y is equal to x divided by modulo value of 3. So at the moment the value of x is 5. So if we divide it by 3, we get a remainder of 2. So dividing x by 3 modulo division gives y a value of 2, which is modulo division. Okay, that's that section. So let's move on to the next page. That's the rest of the code for the example we just did. Okay, let's have a look at assignment operators in section 4. Assignment operators are used to assign or give values to the variables that we've created and declared. There's a number of ways of assigning values. If we use an equal sign, then we can say x equals 5, x equals 3. For example, we can do var x equals 3, assign a value to variable x, so on. If we want to add 3 to the value of x, so we want to say x is equal to x plus 3, but there's a shorthand notation for that, and that is using the plus and equal sign. And instead of writing x equals x plus 3, all we do is we write x plus equals 3, and that translates to x equals x plus 3. Similarly for x minus, similarly for x minus 3, x equals x minus 3, similarly for times, similarly for x equals x times 3, similar for division, we can say x equals x divided equals 3, x equals x divided by 3, and similar for modulo division, we can say x percentage equals 3, which is equivalent to x equals x modulo divided by 3. Okay, moving on to next section, section 5, string concatenation. This is how we can, if we have two variables with strings, we can add the variables and we can add the strings and combine them and put them into another variable, a third variable. So for example, string concatenation, strings can be added together to make bigger strings by using the concatenation operator, the plus sign. We can add mixed types and numbers. So for example, if you add a number to a string, JavaScript automatically converts the number into a string and adds it to the string. So the overall result is a string. So if you do 5 plus Fred, x equals 5 plus Fred, then you'll get x equals a string. You get a string. X equals a string value 5 followed by Fred. So here's string concatenation. We say user equals Fred, and user 2 equals James, and then we say user, the string, the variable complete name equals user 1 plus user 2, and that would give us a value complete name is equal to Fred James. So we can use this. So let's have a look at this if we can. Okay, if we can go to our code window and our browser, what we can do is in our code window we can create those values. Just do some editing on our code window. Okay, so we've put those. So in here we've got user 1 equals Fred, user 2 equals James, complete name equals user 1 and 2. And we can do document.write, which means write out to the screen the contents of the variable complete name. And look at our browser window, refresh, we've got nothing, which is odd. Okay, so that's not working, yeah? So our browser window is not showing our strings. So we can debug this and find out what's going on here. And if we go into our web developer console and have a look here, it says uncaught error, syntax error. So there's an error in the code. invalid or unexpected token on line 6. So test1.html, our file, and 6 is line number. So if we come down to line 6 in our code, we can see that everything looks okay, but one of the problems with copying code from other document, from a Word document to a editing document, is that we have special characters in the code that are created, which are used by Word, but which are not recognized by the code editor. And one of these is quotation marks. Now Word puts, beginning quotes and end quotes around a string, and the same with this one. We've got beginning quotes and end quotes. So to us it seems quite valid, but JavaScript doesn't recognize these quotes. So what it needs is the normal quotes, which is these ones. We'll go on the keyboard and do Shift F2. So we've got a normal quote and another normal quote, and those are completely different, as you can see. So same problem with this one, same with this one. So what we do now is if we save our code, and we're using quotation marks, we use the correct ones down here, but at the top, Word inserted replace those quotes with its own special quotes. So what we can do here is we go on the right hand side and we'll do Control Refresh, and see, if we look in our console there's no errors, and if we say user1 it says Fred, and if we say user2 it's equal to James, if we say complete name it's equal to Fred and James. The reason why these are joined up is because when we're combining strings, they get combined like this. You have Fred plus James, and there's no spacing or gap in between them. There's no new line. So what you just get is Fred James, which is what complete name is showing. So let's get rid of our console there. So that's working now, and we've learned a valuable lesson that copying code from another application into your code window will give you strange errors sometimes, because the Word, and other applications, desktop applications, have their own characters, and when you copy them into a code window like in Sublime Text 3, you'll get funny results, but it's quite a simple thing to fix once you know what the problem is. So see, in Word we've got these quotation marks, 66 and 99, which Word uses, and here and here. But if I put a quotation mark here, Shift F2, Shift 2 in Word, you get a 66 and you get a 99. You don't get the quotes that you would get in a code window. Let's try Notepad. See what happens in Notepad. So if we say we put the code, we're writing code in Notepad, and we put in Shift F2. Notepad is okay, but you have to be careful doesn't always work. From one application copying code to another application, it's not compatible sometimes. Okay, moving on to the next section, we've got Boolean comparison operators. Boolean is when you say, oh, is 3 is less than 5, so that's a Boolean statement, and either it's true or false. So if you say 3 is less than 5, it's obviously true. But if you say 3 is greater than 5, that's false. And you can use those kind of conditional Boolean testing and comparison within the JavaScript language. Okay, the first one is double equals, which says is equal to. So if x equals y, that's saying that they have the same value. If you use triple equals, that's saying that because the variables can be different types, we need to check the value and the type as well. So here we say x is equal, triple equal to y, which means the same value and the same type. We can also say not equal to, which is an exclamation mark equals. So we say x is not equal to y by putting exclamation mark equals y. Greater than. So we say is greater than, x is equal to is greater than y. Less than, x is less than y. Greater than is equal to or greater than, so we say equal to or greater than, x is greater than or equal to y. And combining those two equals and greater signs, less than signs, we've got less than or equal to, so we say x is less than or equal to y. If the test passes, then the value returned is true, and if it fails, then the value returned is false. H, Boolean comparison returns true or false. Do that one, and we can, that's full, true, false, it's in red. True would be in green, which means it's okay. So true, false. So if we have a look at our browser window, we can test that. Go into a browser window, and we can say, go and get Control Shift I to get our web console up, and we say, let's have a look what we got here. So we say x equals 3, y equals 5. So we say x is equal to y, and it's saying false because x is equal to 3 and y is equal to 5. But if we say x is equal to x, it says true, as you would expect. X is not equal to y. That's true, because we know that x is 3 and y is 5. X is larger than y. Let's get rid of that one, just go back. So we say x is larger than y. That's false, x is 3, so it's not larger than y. If we say x is less than y, that's true. So clear the screen using Control L. So we say x is larger than or equal to y. It's not true because x is 3 and y is 5. Get rid of that. So let's have a look at x, y. X is larger than or equal to y, which is false because x is 3 and y is 5. So x is less than or equal to y. True. So that's a simple way to use Boolean comparison operators. Okay, moving on to the next section, we've got section 7, logical operators. These combine Boolean comparisons into bigger expressions. So here we've got and, which means an expression and this another expression is true. And for example, x is less than 3 and y is equal to 3, and that will give you a true or false answer. Vertical lines gives you an OR function, and that says x is less than 3 or y is equal to 3. And then a not operator is a negation operator, so it gives you the opposite of true or false. So if x is equal to less than 3, not it. So x is less than 3, if it's true, then not it becomes false. Looking at our browser window, we've got, let's look at similar things. So we do Control-Shift-I to get the console open. We say x equals 3, y equals 5, for example. And if we can do a comparison here, so we say x is equal to 3, which is a Boolean comparison, and y is equal to 5. Y is the result, so that's true. So x is equal to 3 and y is equal to 5. But if we combine those, say where y is equal to 10, we get the overall answer is false, because x is equal to 3 and y is not equal to 10. So a true x is equal to 3 is true, and this expression is false. So true and false gives you false. If we combine those and we say either x is equal to 3 or y is equal to 10, if we do an OR operator, we get a result of true. The reason is that x is equal to 3 or y is equal. This one is true or this one is true. Only one expression can be true, and then the overall result is true. And if we do not, so if we say not, so if we say x is equal to 3, well that's true. We know that x is equal to 3 because we put it true at the top. But we say we want not that, so we say we want the opposite of that, and we get x is equal to false. So that's great. So closing that, we come back down here. Okay, going on to the next section, our last section of this part of the course. Ternary operator. Ternary operator is a 3-part operator. Ternary operator is a conditional, ternary or conditional operator is sometimes called. Lets you do a simple if then else statement by combining 3 values in one expression. So the way it works is x equals some kind of Boolean comparison, and if that's true, then the first value, option 1, is assigned to x. If the Boolean here is false, then the second value, option 2, is assigned to x. Here. Assigning the value of an option to 1 or 2 to x depending on the Boolean result of the Boolean. For example, x equals 5/3, option 1 and 2. Action, x will be assigned the value of option 1 because 5 is greater than 3 is true. Okay, example, 5 is less than 3, option 1 or 2. So we say x will be assigned the value of option 2 because Boolean 5 is less than 3 is false. So having a look at our browser window again and the web console. So we can do here, we can say x is equal to 3, y is equal to 5, and we say a is equal to x is less than y, question mark, option 1, colon, we'll just use strings here, be easier, option 1, colon, option 2, colon. So x is less than y, so x is 3 and y is 5, so that's true, so I should get option 1. Okay, so look at the value of a, and it says it's equal to option 1. So a equals, this expression, Boolean expression is true, we get the value of 1. Okay, and let's have a look at the other way. So we just say x is larger than y, and a is assigned the value of option 2, which is the second value, because this expression is false. And it's a very simple operator, but it saves typing. Within using question mark and colon, you can do an if-then statement. So you can say if x is larger than y, select option 1, otherwise select option 2. So it's a shorthand way of doing an if-then else statement. Okay, let's do Control L to clear that window, Control L again. So Control L, okay. And we do close that console, and we can go back to our normal size, and we minimize that. So this was the last section in this part of the course. Course summary, we can summarize what we've covered in this part of the course. So case-sensitive variable names, variables, lowercase user 1 is different to user 1 with capitals. Arithmetic operations, so normal arithmetic applies. Arithmetic operators, so we've got plus sign, multiply, minus, divide, increment, decrement, and modulo division. Assignment operators, we can assign values to variables using the equal sign. We can also assign shorthand code for adding something to a variable, to subtracting to a variable, multiplying to a variable, and dividing to a variable, and doing modulo division to a variable. It's a shorthand way of doing manipulating the variables. String concatenation is simple. You do string 1 plus, use the plus sign to add the two strings, and string 2. So that will result in a value of Fred James. Okay, Boolean operators, double equals is comparing values, triple equals is comparing values and the type, not equals is saying something is not equal to something else, greater than is something is greater than something else, smaller than something is smaller than something else, greater than equals means something is greater than or equal to, less than or equal to means something is less than or equal to. Doing logical operators and combining Boolean expressions into logical operators, we have and, which is an AND operation, so one expression and another expression. So we've got an OR, which is this one. So logical and. We've got the vertical lines, which is a logical OR operation. And then we've got the exclamation mark, which is the NOT operator. It's a logical NOT. And we've got the ternary operator, which is x equals a Boolean expression, question mark, option 1, colon, option 2. So depending on the Boolean expression, if it's true, you get x will become option 1. If the Boolean expression is false, x will become option 2. Okay, so moving on to the next section. That's all for this section of the course. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to our channel, Bain's Infotech World. Please like and subscribe to our channel to show your appreciation. Thank you very much.